chess. We are going to break down the situation. You know, obviously the timeline is they already put out their report, and now we've had Dlugy's whole episodes, and Hans is playing in the US Chess Championship, and we're sort of at like a standstill, basically. Okay, a lot of attention being given to this situation we published a 72-page report about. Danny and Eric are posting this, the COO and the CEO, I believe. Why are you addressing all of this now and so publicly? Why didn't you address these topics before? Yeah, because Hans hasn't cheated on chess.com since 2020. So why are they only banning him from a chess.com event after Magnus withdraws from a tournament and accuses Hans of cheating? They say it sparked a controversy, and they explain in detail in their report, which we went into. They were faced with a binary decision. So they were influenced by the controversy. They try to say they weren't influenced by Magnus, but they were influenced by the controversy. But that's a pretty transparent sort of like substitution / excuse. They're not explaining it. They're still not explaining. What about the controversy? What exactly had changed? So Magnus withdrawing caused them to disinvite Hans. Why are they trying to tiptoe around that? Would you have Would you have uninvited Hans if any other player had withdrawn? We believe that had any other top 10 player in the world made such a bold statement by Wow, chess.com. Wow. Bullshit. So their fucking policy now is they're going to disinvite someone from a tournament if a top 10 person pulls out after a tournament after losing to them and insinuates they cheated? That's the fucking chess.com policy? We'd have to consider what we anticipated the coming fallout to be and whether we could indeed promise ourselves, top players, and our fans that the tournament would be ready to deal with this level of public speculation regarding cheating. We would have had the same doubts and made the same decision. The bottom line is that we did not feel capable of ensuring our biggest event ever would be played cleanly. The bottom line is that Magnus pulling out of a tournament made you feel that way about your tournament. That just doesn't work. I don't forgive Hans for any of his cheating. I mean, I don't not forgive him, but I'm not like trying to downplay his cheating. Like once he takes accountability and like actually shows that he understands what he did wrong and won't do it again, you know, he's a cool guy. He seems like a good player. And do you regret uninviting Hans from the CGC? Would you have done that without Magnus calling him out? I feel like we've asked that already. Hindsight is 2020, so it's impossible to say with certainty how things would have happened if Magnus had not withdrawn from the Singefeld Cup, or if we had not uninvited Hans from the CGC. That doesn't answer either of the questions. Come on, he didn't publicly. Magnus's insinuation was common knowledge at the time. His insinuation was immediately obvious. I'm sorry, but what I take this as is yes, that I think they regret this whole thing. I think they regret uninviting Hans from the CGC. Because the timing just doesn't check out. And then publishing a whole report seems like overcompensation. At the end of the day, they didn't have any reason to do it in September of 2022. They were doing it because of the controversy created by Magnus pulling out and insinuating Hans cheating. So they were doing it because Magnus insinuated Hans cheating, and now they're saying they would do it if any other top 10 player insinuated someone cheated and pulled out of a tournament. So what about a number 11 player? They don't have the pull. Or any other world elite chess player. Wow. Why did you release the Hans Niemann report when you did right before his next major chess tournament? Yeah, seems kind of fucked. Because it's back-to-back smorgasbord. Yeah, the calendar is constant tournaments. Yeah, sure. I don't feel like the first question was answered. I don't feel like they answered why they did it. I think it was a bad decision. Actually, maybe it's not a bad decision. Maybe it's totally fair for them to ban Hans from the tournament. But it was definitely a strategically bad decision for them to wait to do it until Magnus fucking pulled out of a tournament. This just doesn't work as a policy. What, they're gonna wait for the top 10 players to signal that someone cheated? Now the top 10 players are the accountability board of chess cheating? If we want chess.com to have any responsibility, which in my opinion they need to because they have so much power, and with great power, you know, sort of comes great responsibility. I guess maybe I'm the first one to say that, but I think that makes sense. And if we're going to give them some power and responsibility, then let's just say that if they want to ban people from their tournaments, they can ban them from the tournaments, but they should do it on their own basis of their own information. Have you considered whether chess.com's leniency in the past has contributed to some of the current attitudes towards cheating in online chess? We understand that there are different views on how we and the chess world generally should handle players who have cheated. Some in the community wish to see those who have admitted cheating and or whom have determined are likely cheated in chess games be punished more severely or handled differently than we have historically. We have always tried to see the best in everyone and believe that everyone can have a redemption story. Well, that works for your bottom line, doesn't it? Which is why we have privately given those who have cheated at least one chance, at least. Yeah, you gave Delugi a third account. We hear the criticisms regarding our historical approach and recognize that a different approach may be better moving forward, including potentially handling instances of cheating in the future more publicly rather than discreetly. I think that's a good idea. We're always seeking to improve the game and our role in it, and we are currently evaluating our practices and intend to propose changes to our approach. Stay tuned. Did Chess.com leak the list of names tweeted by the fake GM Hans Niemann account on Twitter on October 6, 2022? So if you haven't seen this, I did see it and I've been meaning to talk about it. This is not Hans Niemann's actual account. See, you can tell this is not a description that Hans Niemann would ever do for his own self. So this is a fake account, and they posted a list, and, this is a list of people. It is just a fake account, so you don't want to give it too much sort of legitimacy, but Fabiano thought it seemed very legitimate, actually.
So it's a fake account, but it seems like a very legitimate list.
Mm-hmm.
So there must be a lot of legitimacy to it.
Like there's details there, there's names that some of them we knew, some of them we didn't. Some are surprising, some are not. But it seems like some sort of leak, right?
I think so.
Fabiano is a little bit too willing to get down in the dirt, though. I'm sorry, because Chess.com says, no, this was not a leak from Chess.com, nor is that list accurate. There are many players on the list who have not been closed for fair play violations, and there are other players who have been closed who are not on the list. We have spoken to everyone on our team and feel confident that none of our team have done this, nor would they, and we believe that the person who posted this was doing this through their own inaccurate process of looking at account activity. So Fabiano doesn't think that, though. One other thing I just wanted to mention while I'm talking about this podcast episode that just came out yesterday is I was talking about this on a recent stream, but I didn't have the receipts. Fabi acknowledges that maybe they got a little caught up in the controversy at first, and analyzing Hans's games like they did might have been a mistake, which I said, and I think it's fair to say.
Well, you went after him a bit.
Oh,
a little bit. Okay, so I also feel like we did contribute a bit to the constant snowballing of analyzing, critiquing every game that he's ever played.
Yeah,
we didn't do that to a great extent, but we did a bit of that, and so I had this feeling, this vibe from him, because we were on pretty decent terms. Like during Singfield Cup, we were hanging out, we played tennis, we were talking a bunch, and then I had this vibe from him here that he really didn't want to interact with me, and so we haven't really said anything to each other, and that's what I said on one of the interviews.
So the crazy thing is, this guy Christian Chirilla, GM, is commentating in the fucking tournament Fabi and Hans are in right now.
I don't know. I cannot speak for.
I think he probably feels a little bit attacked, which I understand.
Yeah,
and probably also the reason why he didn't want to give variations was because every word that he said in those interviews, the ones that he gave, were picked apart.
Yeah.
So it's kind of understandable that you don't want anything you say to be used against you.
And I think my first video where I talked about the Hans Niemann interview is guilty of this as well. That was before I had sort of solidified my understanding of the situation, and I think I also got caught up in picking apart too much every single detail of what he was saying. Now I'm just trying to cover cheating in chess and this whole development in a more even-handed way. So hopefully I've improved. So they say that that list is not real. I mean, we could go through it. Obviously, some of it is real. I don't know who. I don't fucking know. Are you going to share any more names of those who have cheated in the past? We do not currently plan to share the names or confirm any rumors of any more individuals who have cheated or we believe have cheated in the past unless it becomes a material public issue. Well, what the fuck does that mean? What constitutes a material public issue, Chess.com? Who determines what constitutes a material public issue? Our practice has been to handle matters discreetly. Yes, we know. While we understand that the recent public controversies could suggest to people that someone who cheats will always cheat again, we do not share this opinion. Yeah, I don't either. We maintain that people make mistakes and that there are more examples of people self-correcting than repeatedly cheating. Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Then why did you create a public report on Hans? Because he mentioned them in the interview and accused them of like pretty serious stuff. They had to justify why they banned him from the tournament. We only created a public report on Hans because Hans made this a public issue with his comments and we felt forced to correct the public record. Up until the point Hans made his comments, Chess.com handled this matter discreetly and planned to continue handling it directly with Hans only. We felt compelled to complete as full and detailed an investigation as we could on a condensed timeline and to give the community and the public a large detailed report on our findings. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, I don't know. Okay, this is exactly what I've been wondering. Why did you not close Hans's account earlier when you knew he cheated? Why did you let this get to the 100 or so games? Why did you wait until September to ban him from events? Why did you wait for Magnus? Chess.com is founded by people who love chess and by people who love people. We, Danny and Eric, feel a deep sense of compassion for all humans. Okay, they want the best for everything. Yes, we get it. It didn't feel like we had enough data to conclusively determine he was likely cheating, given his age. Okay. After some time, we believed we had gathered enough to make this determination. We did that Hans, he'd been violating fair play rules regularly. Man, this sucks. This whole situation sucks. Hans will eventually just talk about it. Oh, there's something I'm not going to go into, which is a Daily Mail article, which is a total rag of a media outlet. Hans Niemann's father did an interview with them, and all I'm going to say about this is Hans Niemann's father, you shouldn't have done that. Like, don't talk to the Daily Mail about this situation. I don't think that's a good call. Why do you use the word likely cheated in your report? Are you not confident in your findings? Yeah, lawyers, why did we have to use the word likely? Joking aside, we have aimed to be very precise in what we say. And while we can certainly say things like likely and most likely, based on statistical probabilities and other circumstantial evidence that give us confidence that something is likely or very likely true, we cannot ever say something is certain or 100% true. Yeah, okay, that's how statistics works, yeah. Does Chess.com think Hans cheated in his game with Magnus? They already answered that. I'm not going to go into it. They just say the same thing. Why did you include the videos of Magnus losing to different players? Yeah, that was whack. Human emotion, especially intense or exciting moments, can tell us a lot about a person, and it was something we looked at. Ultimately, it didn't reveal anything specific or particularly noteworthy, but was included to show different elements of our investigation. That's so stupid and not a good reason at all. Why didn't you just uninvite Hans and not close his entire account? We recognized that we could have chosen to keep Hans's Chess.com account open while at the same time uninviting him from the CGC, but given the concerns we had, okay, they wanted to ban him from the site. It's not necessarily permanent. Okay, well, how does that work? What do you think of Hans now? He's a talented, great guy. He's a nice young chap. Is there a path back to Chess.com for Hans? Probably, yep. Can you tell us more about the 2700 rated player who Chess.com caught cheating and who's mentioned? No. Why did you publish emails about Maxime Delugi? When Magnus mentioned Maxime Delugi, so I'm sorry, Chess.com, but you're doing whatever Magnus wants. And whether that's bad could be argued because Magnus is a pretty smart guy and what he wants for chess is like not to be just disregarded. But I'm sorry, Chess.com, you can't beat the allegations that you're sort of acting like a lapdog for Magnus. You should, if you wanted to ban Hans, you should have done it before Magnus pulled out of the tournament. When Magnus mentioned Maxime Delugi in one of his post-game interviews, within hours the entire world was talking and speculating about Maxime. So Chess.com is just saying they do this all for PR. Like when there's controversy, they just react and they do it for PR. Streamers, bloggers, and podcasters were asking questions and multiple news agencies were emailing us directly asking for clarification. There were calls from all around the world, both within the chess community and outside it, for Chess.com to be transparent about what was already an open secret online, that Maxime had allegedly been removed from Chess.com for cheating. Given that the issue had already been made public, and in order to be fully transparent with the community, we released several emails with Maxime about his status on Chess.com while redacting his personal information. The release of emails was fully consistent with our legal rights and our terms of service. Yeah, that's what I said. I figured. What do you think of Maxime Delugi? Why are they asking themselves that? Maxime is a well-credentialed chess coach in New York who, as made clear in recent reporting by Vice, admitted to cheating in some online games on chess.com. Recent reporting with the leaked emails you leaked to Vice. Maxime committed not to cheat again. Maxime is an incredibly strong player and tremendous trainer who has contributed a lot to the chess community. Oh, they don't say what they think of his claim that he falsely admitted to cheating in 2020. They literally don't even comment on that. Do you have any comments on Joachim Berger Nielsen and his admission to having cheated? Dude, why are you asking yourself that? Why can't you be more aggressive in closing accounts? Closing a titled player's account for cheating is a big deal. We have always tried to find the right balance between protecting the game and being fair to the player. Historically, we have closed accounts only when we have overwhelming evidence of cheating. We know that this allows some players to cheat for longer than if we closed their accounts earlier with less certainty, but at the same time, we've never wanted to be wrong. We don't want to be wrong 1 out of 100 times or even 1 out of 1,000 times. We have thousands of titled players on our site, and that would mean potentially unfairly closing the accounts of many innocent players. We never want to be wrong, and so we have tried to be as cautious as possible. You could debate about that, but I think that's generally a good policy, probably. To a certain extent. I mean, you might have to be wrong 1 out of like 10,000 times to even be effective. We are now open to re-examining our policies and exploring new and different ideas for how to strike the proper balance. Great, good. So this is a good situation all in all. One big positive out of this whole thing is a lot more pressure on chess.com to make sure their policies are on point. Why do you think Magnus withdrew from the Singapore Cup and later resigned on move 1? He didn't consult with us, we don't know. Yeah. Do you think Magnus did the right thing in withdrawing and later resigning? It's not our place to judge. That said, what he did brought to the forefront an important conversation about cheating in chess. Yeah, it also made you disinvite Hans from the CGC. So weird. It's not our place to judge if Magnus's actions were right or wrong, but they did influence us significantly and substantially in the case of Hans Niemann. Does this controversy impact your potential deal with Play Magnus Group? Oh, I thought the deal was done. Not at all. Play Magnus and Chess.com are still entirely separate companies. The recent events surrounding cheating in chess have nothing to do with our potential acquisition of Play Magnus, and the timelines are coincidental. We had no influence on Magnus's withdrawal from the Singapore Cup, and neither Magnus nor Play Magnus Group had any input into or advanced knowledge of our decisions regarding Hans's removal from our site. But you still let the controversy created by Magnus pulling out of the tournament influence you to finally make a decision based on data that hadn't changed. Is cheating online versus cheating over the board different? Oh, we were talking about that yesterday. Opinions about how serious cheating online is versus over the board are varied. We also acknowledge that some have viewed cheating online as less serious because online chess started in a casual way among anonymous players where no money was involved and where there was hardly any cheating detection. However, much has changed over the years to drastically increase the stakes of online chess. And chess.com has fought every step of the way during that time period to protect that investment. We have always believed that cheating against another person in a game, regardless of whether it is online or over the board, robs that person of a fair experience. And where prize money events are involved, whether it's an online or over the board tournament, cheating may harm players even more. We believe that there should be zero tolerance for cheating in chess in any venue or format. Zero tolerance? What is that? But you give so many accounts! You give multiple tries. That's your policy. What do you mean zero tolerance? You don't think that. What do you mean? What you literally mean something different by zero tolerance. Are you going to share names of people who are caught cheating in the future? Yeah, it sounds like they might. They're considering changing their practices, considering greater transparency. Okay, cool. Of course, cheating is not going to ruin chess. Okay, so that's that. Basically, I guess my takeaway is I don't think chess.com has a coherent enough sort of policy. I mean, I guess they're going to come up with one. It sounds like they're committed to coming up with one, which is cool. We really need to hear from Hans and Magnus more about where they're at, but it is hard. They're constantly playing, so, what can you do? So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you soon, and we'll discuss the constant happenings of the chess world.